Hey everyone, Madone from Strike Posture Set. Today we're gonna do the Night CAS briefing, and you can see the illuminate pointer, which is the infrared pointer we use for ground marking. And in this brief we will talk about the objectives or difficulties, brevities, and procedure. So the objectives, you have to understand the procedure and learn the different gestures that are executed by the JTAC and understand the difficulties of night operations in CAS and the correct brevities or terminology that goes with it. So the limitations, the infrared pointers are not usable through the TGP but only with your night vision goggles, so that will require a lot of switching on and off from you in the cockpit. And the visibility will also be degraded with the NVGs, making your viewing distance shorter and your situational awareness will be reduced as a result. You will need to use your instruments as you would do in IFR or instrument flight rules. And IR will also reveal your position or alert the target that they are being marked. So you should use it for approximately 30 seconds before the impact if you require it. Otherwise, just try to use it only until you get the target and then turn it off. Also, it will burn the target, as we say. If the target composition is very bright, it will make a big flash and you will not see anything. A little conclusion to that slide, just remember about all the switching. You will need to have that shortcut handy in DCS for the NVGs. As well as the gain, by the way, because it's sometimes useful to adjust the gain as you go. So here's the brevity, the rope first. So it's kind of in sequence. The rope is the first thing you would do. It's circling the pointer in the sky around the aircraft or in a cardinal direction. And I will show you some example with the video from in-game footage. So you want to be slow and steady when you do all those gestures. And the aircraft will have to call visual friendlies as when they see the point of origin or blind. Next we have sparkle, which is done by the JTAC, who will illuminate the target with the pointer. The answer from the aircrew will be contact sparkle or tally target or no joy. Pulse is used when you want to deconflict many different IR beams, and after that you will be either contact sparkle and then call steady or no joy. A snake will be used for deconflicting the friendly end of the pointer of the IR beam. So the figure 8 will be executed and the target will be the center of the 8. And steady, well, it's kind of self-explanatory, right? It's called after a snake or pulse, or anytime that the pointer is moving out of the target if you are not steady, with your hand in real life. But in this case, the steadiness of the pointer is unparalleled, I should say. And next we have sea sparkle, which will be told by the aircrew usually. And you want to see sparkle as soon as you have the target, or as soon as you don't need the pointer anymore, you should call that. And then contact sparkle, which is by the book equivalent to a target, but in general you would prefer using target because that's what we are used to and that's less confusing than using a contact, especially if the comms are cutting after contact. You will understand that the aircrew is just contact, that's not enough. And then match sparkle is a kind of a procedure by itself. We will talk about that a bit later on. So the procedure now in the CAS brief, you will have to include on the line 7, which is the mark. You will have to say marked by IR pointer. Don't neglect the tool you are using. If it's a pointer or a strobe, it's very different. Mention it here, because if you are marking friendlies with a strobe and the target with the pointer, you need to make that clear. Remarks, we have the pointer to target line that is kind of mandatory when you use IR. So the pilot will have a clue of what's the heading of you to your target. As such, you will use his HSI or compass to make sure he's hitting the right side of the pointer. And also still be careful of line 8. It's the closest friendly, not the IR operator. Sometimes your brain will misunderstand that, so just a notation there. And I want to insist on the line 7, it's marked by IR pointer and not designated, because designation implies weapons guidance. There are 3 types of IR markings. There is ground IR, match sparkle, and sparkle walk-on. So we'll start with the ground IR correlation. You want to make sure your aircraft is in good position, preferably in the overhead. If the aircraft is kind of far, they will have trouble because of the terrain, maybe the ground features around you, to spot the point of origin for a rope, for example, or to see the end of the pointer for the target. So you want to make sure the aircraft is low enough and close enough. Advise ready to rope as a pilot, so the JTAC can start roping around you or in the direction specified. So you get visual friendlies right from the beginning. Then the aircrew will call sparkle, then you call contact sparkle or tally target. And the aircrew will say see sparkle as soon, as I said before, as soon as they no longer need the IR beam on the target. And for reattacks, you want to make sure you are still visual and tally, and I insist on that. That's visual plus tally is the mandatory. It's the minimum you need for IR procedure. About match sparkle, so it's useful if you have an aircraft equipped with TGP and you want to make sure it's right on target with his own IR beam. First, the JTAC needs to ask the aircrew if they can perform it. If they can, then the JTAC will say, okay, I'm ready to do the match sparkle. The aircrew calls in sparkle, the JTAC eliminates the target, and then the JTAC has to call a match sparkle. That's when the aircrew will open their IR pointer and match the IR spot of the JTAC with their own sensor. And when the JTAC observes that both IRs are on the same point, make sure the aircrew stays steady, and then that's a target. You know, you can ask the aircrew as a JTAC to describe the objective so we can make sure what they see under thermal imagery, for example. And then the aircrew should also see sparkle as soon as they have the target. Now the sparkle walk-on is a little bit different. That means the JTAC doesn't have an IR pointer, or it's just broke, or it doesn't want to reveal its position. And you will perform that by providing a rough target area to the aircrew so they can point their sensor at a few hundred meters around the target, so you don't have to make big corrections right from the start. Now the aircrew will be ordered to sparkle where their sensor is currently, you know, and you hope that's not too far from your target. And then the JTAC will slew your sensor onto the target using cardinal, subcardinal directions and distance in meters. Use terrain objects if possible, as you would do in a normal TOC-on, because estimating distances at night, it's going to be a lot more difficult with the NVGs. An example, if you have roads, you know, you want to limit yourself to that. Example, slew south 100 to west-east road. And when the spot is on target, the JTAC should call steady, you know, and then the aircrew should wait further instructions. If you are where your target is, the JTAC should ask a description of what they see with the thermal imagery. If the JTAC is satisfied, then you can call tally target or captured, since you are using your sensor, and then see sparkle again. As the tip says here, you need to really manage, you know, that shortcut for your NVGs and your workflow. Like, you need to sometimes look inside the cockpit, look inside the TGP if you want to play with a precise distance. You can use the crosshair, the yardstick from your TGP. So if you want to use that, you need to turn off your NVGs usually. So it's a lot of switching back and forth, in and out from the cockpit, and it takes practice. So here we go to the conclusion. Operating at night is difficult and it takes time, so you will need to get accustomed to that. And the correlation is more procedural. We will be more in sequence, you know, it's almost always the same thing. You get visual friendlies first, and then the tally target, you can perform the snake. The downside is that it's obvious, you know, you're illuminating stuff and you don't want to reveal your own position for too long. So this concludes this video. I hope it was informative to you, and if you have any questions, feel free to hop in the Discord chat. I will be happy to answer them, and hope to see you soon in game. Enjoy.